Hi ho ho and welcome to a new and improved episode of the Boy Time Podcast. As always, I'm Casey Affleck, and as always, I'm joined by Babby and Paul.
And I'm just yawned.
Hong
So I
Kong.
just yawned.
Oh, just yawned.
Yeah.
Sounds
I'm Ben Affleck.
I'm Ben Affleck. Oh, okay, you're my brother then. Yes, there's a very specific reason why I picked Casey Affleck and not Ben Affleck. Because
Yes.
Ben Affleck got canceled.
Heck yes.
That's awesome.
I saw a really funny video of Ben Affleck I think it was a couple days ago, where him and J-Lo, he's married to J-Lo, right?
I don't know.
I think
Who is
I,
he?
I think they're married. They just got married. And there was like a picture going around where it's like, they were fighting at this red carpet event. Ooh, drama, drama, drama.
I see.
And then you watch the video and they're not fighting at all. It's just like they're whispering
Not
to each other
spicy.
and they're like gesticulating with their hands as if they're arguing, but really he's just like, okay, I'm going to go over here to
method
talk to
acting.
this guy and then you're going to go over there. And then she was like, okay, cool. And then they went apart. I don't think they were arguing at all.
He's controlling her?
Yes. I don't know. You can't hear what he's saying, but he's like motioning with his hands. So
This is the T.
this is the T, and that's
We're
why
a drama podcast.
that's why Ben Affleck is canceled
Good.
because he argued with his wife. Except he didn't. I don't know. You can't hear what he's saying. So maybe he's.
I was
really
there.
angry. Oh,
I
you
was
were.
there. Yeah, he was.
What movie premiere was it?
The new Lion King remake.
I think you were like really close. I think it was the Little Mermaid premiere.
Exactly.
You were
That's
very
what I
close.
said. That's what I said.
The new Lion King, the one that came out 4 years ago.
God, really 4 years ago.
I think so. 2019 was the live action Lion King. They did release a trailer for the sequel, I think, or something.
There's a Lion King sequel?
Well, yeah, there's already two Lion King sequels if you think about it. There's Lion King 2, which was a straight to video sequel. And then there is the critically acclaimed Lion King 1.5, which is actually really solid. So watch that one. You don't have to watch Lion King 2. That one's not very good.
Good, I didn't want to anyways.
Well, there you go. So watch the first one and then do a little double feature with Lion King 1.5 because it's pretty good.
Doc.
And then, so then they made the live action one in 2019. And then the guy who made Moonlight is making the sequel for that one. They're making a sequel to a live action remake of a movie from the 90s.
Let's go.
I don't know if it's going to be adapting the the screenplay from the second one, the one that's really bad. That's just Romeo and Juliet, but lions. But I guess the Lion King's Hamlet, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think the second one is Romeo and Juliet, and then 1.5 is just its own thing. It's not Shakespeare at all. But yes, we're getting a little off track. But this is
Little.
I would say I had a pretty not pretty. I had a very busy week. I graduated college and I moved. I finally got everything unpacked today.
Oh yeah, that thing.
I still have to put some wall decor up because it is rather lame in my place right now. But I finally got all the boxes unpacked. Everything is mostly set up, so we're good. I can do a podcast now.
That's awesome.
Hey,
It's the best thing. But I have not had a chance to watch a lot of movies. I actually had a plan to watch 3 movies, and there was a funny reason as to why I wanted to watch all 3 of those movies. But I actually think the 2 I watched actually work better together without the third one in it. And we'll talk about that a little later. But I didn't get a chance to watch 3 movies. I was busy. Also, the new Zelda came out. Zelda
True.
Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom 1, Zelda
Part 2.
17, Requiem.
Requiem.
So I guess I'll be giving my first impressions on that. I did not get very far. I maybe have like 3 hours in it, which is crazy because I'm a very big Zelda fan and I'm an even bigger Breath of the Wild fan. So
Big fan.
I am a fake fan. I finally got a chance to play some of it today. I was playing it a little bit here and there, but every time I would sit down to play it, I would, get like 15 minutes in. I'm like, I gotta get back to work. I should not be doing this right now. Which really I could have been because I have this whole week off, but it's fine. So I'll probably
No
have
gaming.
I'll probably have better thoughts on it next week. I probably won't beat it for a while, just gauging on how long it took me to beat Breath of the Wild and especially how I play these types of games. I have to really take my time, explore every nook and cranny because the game really pushes you to do that. But I do have some minor gripes with it. I guess we can get into that because it's gaming. We'll always
Let's go.
talk about gaming first. Yeah, so I think it's going to be pretty hard to talk about this game without bringing up Breath of the Wild. I mean, it's pretty much the same game. Like how it looks, the graphics are exactly the same. I think the Hyrule map is pretty much copy and pasted from the first one, except now there's levels to it. Like I think the trailer showed that there's the sky, but there's also the depths.
Whoa.
Yeah. So occasionally you'll just happen across giant holes in the ground, and if you jump down them, then you can play the scary version of the game because it's very
Let's go.
dark. Everything's a skeleton, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so I mean, right off the bat, I was a little overwhelmed because Breath of the Wild already has a really big map. So it didn't necessarily need two more really big maps, but I guess that's what we got. I think the depths and the upper realm, I think those are relatively smaller, consisting of smaller kind of islands-esque things. Kind of like Wind Waker or something, but you don't get a flying boat. Well, I guess you can make a flying boat if you're good enough. I'm not. I am infamously bad at building. But yes, so I think really the only thing I can really talk about is the beginning of the game because that's really all I've played. I think if we're talking about open world games, I think that hasn't really been an opening as strong as Breath of the Wild since Breath of the Wild came out. The little intro thing where you're on this little separated hillside thing where you get all of the starter abilities and it's teaching you the game and all of the mechanics in this little tutorial pocket. You get the paraglider and then you can go literally anywhere you want, and that is completely fine to do. There's a main quest on the minimap, but real gamers will turn the minimap off because you don't need it, and it's more fun to play it without a minimap. So that's what I would recommend. So I was a little bit worried with the sequel because, like, how do you top this? Are they even going to try? No. In fact, I think the opening of this is pretty G-dang weak. It starts with a cutscene of Link and Zelda in random tomb, and then it's a trailing mission where you have to follow Zelda
Oh no.
through this little ruin thing, and then as you're following her, like cutscenes will happen in between it, and then there's a big cutscene, and then the game starts. Never open your game like this ever. Never
I
ever.
hate trailing missions.
Yes. Especially games like this, where it's your whole goal is to explore and have fun in an open world. This is what I was worried about when that second trailer dropped. When I'm like, they're putting all their chips in the story, aren't they? Oh no! Do not
I hate
do this.
story.
No, I do like story, but you have to go full. You have to really do it. Like Naughty Dog games go full chips in the story too. And those are some of the best games of all time because they really built the gameplay around the story. I don't know. I would rather take gameplay over story any day, for the most part.
True.
And I think a good example of this are the FromSoft games. They have pretty much no story. You can dig deep in the lore if you want to, but and if you pay attention to all of the dialogue and everything, there is somewhat of a story there, but you really you don't really have to pay attention to it at all, and the whole point is just killing cool bosses and getting to the next bonfire or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the appeal of Breath of the Wild is that there's not really a story. Ganon is in the castle. You have to kill Ganon. Oh no, Zelda is gone. Let's save Zelda. It's pretty much just like cookie cutter copy paste from the first Zelda game. But that doesn't matter because the gameplay is so good and it's so fun and engaging. And yeah, and then, once that big opening cutscene ends in Tears of the Kingdom, then you get into pretty much the same exact tutorial mission, the same setup and everything. You have to go through 4 shrines, and each one gives you a new ability, and then you use that ability to I'm trying to think. It's been a hot minute. But yeah, you get all your abilities, and then you can pass to the next thing, and then because the tutorial's all in the sky, so then you get to jump down to Hyrule, and that's when the game starts. It's pretty much the same thing that the first one did, except weaker because of that opening. And I'm speaking as someone who is a pretty big Zelda fan. I've played all of the 3D Zelda games. I've played the big 2D Zelda games, not like Spirit Tracks or anything like that. But I've played, Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, Link's Awakening. The first one, I don't really like the first one. It's it's an NES game, which means it's weirdly cryptic and it doesn't tell you what to do ever, which is, I guess, part of its charm, but I don't really like it. But yeah, I do not care about the story in this game at all. So I think when I was playing it now, I think I've pretty much gotten out of that. They're kind of loosening the reins a little bit. And, maybe by the end of this, maybe by next week even, all of these gripes are going to be fixed. I don't know. I mean, the game is still Breath of the Wild, but better, I would say. More systems. You get to build cars now. It's nuts and bolts. Pretty sick. I love Banjo-Kazooie. So, yeah. I think all of my gripes with the game are pretty minimal, just for me. But I think that opening is objectively terrible to the type of game it's trying to be. So maybe they should have spent 7 years on it instead of 6. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
When are they gonna make Mario Odyssey 2 and it's just gonna be the same game, but Mario can throw his hat diagonally this time? Ooh.
Yikes.
It's hard to say. Or maybe Mario can, maybe Yoshi's gonna be. Well, actually, Yoshi's in Mario Odyssey, briefly. But that was the thing with Mario Galaxy too. It's the same game, but then Yoshi's in it. So, I don't know. We'll probably talk about this again either next week or once I eventually finish it. So in like a month. I'm not sure. If I have things to say about it, I'll probably bring it up next week. But if not, this is my initial first impressions. We'll move on to movie stuff. Not a whole lot in terms of news. There's a couple things I thought that I would bring up just because pretty exciting stuff. I think first off, I want to start off by saying that Old Boy, one of the best action movies of all time, it is coming back. It was announced that it was going to be coming back to theaters this year, internationally. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's just here in America. But it's coming back to theaters. I think it's like 20th anniversary or something. Not entirely sure on that. But we got I guess, release date for a re-release date, I suppose. It is coming back August 16th. So we got, 3 months to go? But I would highly, highly recommend Old Boy to anyone who has not seen it. And I would recommend going in completely blind. I mean, I think everybody who's into action movies has at least seen the hallway scene. It's probably one of the best hallway fight scenes of all time, and those are always the best part of any movie that they're in. But yeah, it's a phenomenal film. Lots of twists and turns, so I would try to, limit your research going in. I'm pretty sure it's Korean, so you're gonna have to get over that hurdle if you're super against subtitles, but I would say at least try with this one because it is so good. And there's something about the way that Korean movies capture action that I absolutely love. I don't know what it is, but the same characteristics I see in Old Boy are also in like Train to Busan and like very briefly in Parasite. So like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on because those are all different directors. But yeah, so go see that if at all possible. If it's coming to a theater near you, I would highly recommend it. My local Greg Marcus did not re-release Return of the Jedi, so I'm not sure if my local Greg Marcus is going to re-release Old Boy. Otherwise, I would be there on day one. Well, I mean, it's only there for one day, but I guess I would be there in the front row, just absolutely ruining my theater going experience. And then the other thing that I guess is somewhat noteworthy is we got subscription numbers back. I think every quarter end or so we get for all these big streaming services their subscription, either they gained however many or they lost however many. And I'm pretty sure this is a record low for Disney Plus. I think they lost like 6 million, which since its conception, I suppose, it's only ever gone up. And I guess Disney is worried. I think the latest season of The Mandalorian underperformed. I think they're getting a little worried, and I guess Disney acted on it as fast as possible because they announced that there's going to be a streaming service that is going to combine Hulu and Disney Plus that is going to launch by the end of the year. I guess everybody's doing it. Everybody's combining their streaming services. Paramount Plus and Showtime are mixing together. You got HBO Max and Discovery are mixing together, and now Disney Plus and Hulu are combining. And I gotta say, I don't know how you fellas feel about this, but I think that this is a good move. The less number of streaming services out there, the better, in my opinion.
That's true.
Because there's way too many right now. I think we hit like a bubble, and like maybe like 2020, like with the pandemic stuff, it felt like, oh, now there's Peacock and CBS All Access and Paramount Plus, and then Netflix was crying and I don't know, smearing blood on the wall because everyone was leaving. And yeah, I don't know. Everybody should just go back to Netflix, I think. But I think that that those days are over, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is a good move. I don't know how they're going to handle with their parental control type stuff. There's already like R-rated stuff on Disney Plus. Like you can watch the Deadpool movies, and I think Logan is on Disney Plus. So they're there, but I like when they were added, like people were like, "This is a kid streaming service. My daughter is watching the new Disney Channel original movie, and then Deadpool came on. What the heck?" So yeah, I don't know. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. But I think it's a good move, I suppose. I'm in favor of it. As someone who watches a lot of movies, I would rather keep my number of subscriptions down. So there's that. So I guess we'll move on to my two movie reviews, which are going to be tricky to keep straight because they have pretty much the exact same title. I watched, and they both came out in the same year too, 2017. So that's not confusing at all. The first movie I watched is A Ghost Story, and the second movie I watched was Ghost Stories. They have nothing to do with each other. They're vastly different genres. One is a pretentious A24 arty movie, and the other one is a schlocky British horror anthology.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't
I
know.
drew there are two wolves.
There are two wolves.
Ghost Stories and Ghost Story.
Yeah, they I thought it would be funny just because they had the same title, pretty much. I didn't know that they came out in the same year, so that's kind of funny. But they both kind of have like some star power to it, I suppose. Ghost Stories, the horror anthology. I guess I don't want to talk about that one first. Actually, I don't know. I don't want to talk about the Artie movie because you guys already know how I feel about Artie movies, and I kind of feel bad because I think this is like a universally loved movie. But
Can't
man,
believe you.
I know. So I think we'll close with that one. Ghost Stories 2017. It's written and directed by Jeremy Dyson and Andy Nyman, and Andy Nyman is starring in it. It's always a good sign. I would say for like bad movies, like when we do our bad movie nights, I think the best movies are written, directed, star. Your Room, Miami Connection. Have we? I'm trying to think of other ones. I don't know if we've seen any others, but there are definitely some on the upcoming list if we ever do bad movie nights again that are written, directed, stars. But this is not that. It was not schlocky in an enjoyable sense. It was, I think these two guys wanted to make a Blumhouse movie. It encapsulates pretty much everything I hate about modern horror. So we'll talk about that. But I think the weird kind of star power in it is that Martin Freeman is in it, aka I guess Bilbo from the Hobbit movies and Lester Nygaard from the first season of Fargo. Lester, the best character in the whole world. I really like him as an actor. I think he's pretty dang great. I guess he was also Watson in that Sherlock show, but nobody knows what that is. The movie also has Alex Lawther in it, who is that kid from the Black Mirror episode where he like gets caught watching porn and he gets like blackmailed into like robbing a bank with the guy from Game of Thrones. It's that guy. He's in this. And then the other lead in the anthology is Paul Whitehouse, even though his role is very small. I would say the main two people are Martin Freeman and Andy Nyman. But brief plot synopsis as always. Andy Nyman plays a, I guess, anti-paranormal investigator guy. He's like the opposite of Zach Baggins. He is not in the mood for ghost adventures. In fact, he has a program on television where he fights psychics and is like, haha, you thought that this guy was actually a psychic, but he has a hidden earpiece. And then the psychic's like, get off the stage, you crazy guy. I'm going to sue you. That's slander. So that's this guy's whole job, is that he, I think he grew up Jewish. And I guess his dad, kind of like, he was super, super Jewish, like a conservative Jewish guy. Not like a Hasidic Jewish guy, but just a conservative Jewish guy. And like that kind of pulled his family apart because this guy's sister was like dating someone who wasn't Jewish, and that created some tension. And so he saw like how, I guess, superstition and I guess spirituality kind of pulled his family apart, and he always resented it. So now he hunts down psychics and exposes them for liars and frauds. And he gets a call from his a hero of his who did this in the 80s, pretty much just like going around to people who claim to be, who have like ghost sightings, and be like, nope, you're wrong, you're stupid idiot. And he gets a letter from him, and this guy's supposed to be dead, but he gets a letter that's like, hey, come to this trailer. And this guy is super old and disheveled, and he's like, I used to be this paranormal guy, but I found 3 stories that proved me wrong. And now I believe in the paranormal superstition. And then the main character guy is like, oh, well, I'll prove these guys wrong. And then he talks to the 3 people, and these 3 people all tell ghost stories. I like the name of the movie, and that's the movie. I'm not gonna go into every ghost story, except they are bad. I think it's so weird because it's a tonally inconsistent movie. The like wraparound segment about this guy who, exposes psychics. That's all shot like a Zodiac-esque investigation movie where he's like, he's having these conversations with people, and like he starts seeing some like paranormal phenomena as he's doing these investigations, and like that's all like pretty creepy, and it's never like jump scare, where it's like loud noise for no reason. It's just like he'll see off in the distance, like just like a figure, and then he like wipes his eyes or something and it's gone, or like he sees something in the reflection of a window, and then like when he opens the window, then like the reflection's gone. A whole lot of like really creative and honestly kind of creepy stuff. And then that is contrasted with these anthology segments, which are like the worst Blumhouse like jump scare factory type horror segments. I hated them. I think like halfway through Lester's story, and he's the last one, I was just like on my phone because I'm like, this is so dumb and stupid, I don't care. They don't even like earn the scares really. And it is fully like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like a a horror movie or a clip from a horror movie, like a modern day horror movie, where like nothing happens, but then they like play like a really loud like violin sting or something, or they superimpose like a woman screaming, even though it's like someone like touching someone's shoulder or something. It's like the lamest excuse for getting a scare out of someone in a horror movie.
Mm.
And this movie is absolutely full of them, especially those anthology segments. And I'd say like all of the creepy visuals and stuff, it's like if it was just those creepy visuals and like it was not even an anthology movie, and I get that that would be, you know, getting rid of the whole point of why this movie exists. But if it was just that wraparound segment and he was just like having these conversations with people who had paranormal experiences, and like we saw that conversation instead of cutting away to a schlocky ghost story, I think that would have been actually a really, really solid movie. Or if not even a movie, just like an episode of like a horror anthology TV show. Like that would be really, really good. And I think this was almost written like it was in like an anthology TV show, because the ending is very like Twilight Zone-esque, where it's like, oh, well, I guess spoilers. Straight up, I guess I don't recommend this movie. I gave it 2.5 out of 5, which sometimes I recommend movies that are 2.5 out of 5, but like the performances in this movie were phenomenal, especially Alex Lawther. I hardly ever see this guy in anything, but whenever he's there, he absolutely knocks it out of the park. And his like part in the wraparound segment, like his conversation with the psychic exposer man, he's like going full psychological horror, and it's like really, really good. I just wish I could rate this movie higher, but I can't because all of the cutaway segments are kind of sucky. But spoiler alert, the whole thing is a dream, because the psychic hunter is in a coma the whole time, and the three people that he was having conversations with, like the Alex Lawther, he plays like a nurse, and Martin Freeman's like the head doctor, and then Paul Whitehouse is like a custodian. And I know, I know to a lot of people, like endings, you can take them or leave them. Like something can be really solid up to that point, and then a bad ending, it's like, well, whatever, I still like that movie. For me, an ending can absolutely break a movie or TV show or anything. Dark was fantastic, and then the ending happened, and it made me kind of resent the show. And I don't know why I'm built like that. And the reverse happens too, where a movie that is otherwise pretty substandard can have like a really phenomenal ending, and I will remember that movie very fondly. For example, Onward. For some reason, they did not pull any punches with that ending, and it's really, really good. And I remember that movie as being way better than it is. So, yeah, I gave Ghost Stories. I was gonna give Ghost Stories a 2.5 and A Ghost Story 2.5, but I had to give Ghost Story an extra half star, just because it was a better movie, even though I didn't really like it very much. Which I guess will transition into A Ghost Story. It's written and directed by David Lowery. And he does, I don't know, I think he kind of does like a one for them, one for me situation. He did the 2016 Pete's Dragon remake. And then he did like Green Knight, An Old Man with a Gun, which are like these like super stylish indie movies. And then most recently, he just did that Peter Pan and Wendy movie that like just came out. So for some reason, he keeps getting these Disney live action remakes, but then also makes these really kind of heady, artsy type movies. It's really weird, but I think this is the first movie of his that I have seen. Um, I've seen the poster of Green Knight, and I really wanted to see the movie after seeing the poster because it's one of the most visually striking posters I've seen, especially I think it was this decade. I think that movie came out in 2021, maybe, or maybe I'm wrong, and it came out. Uh, okay, it did come out in 2021. I was right. Okay, cool. And then this movie stars Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, who I love Rooney Mara. She's kind of like a Kate Blanchett, where she's like mostly in these super artsy, prestigious movies. I think I saw her in Carol, which is funny because that has Kate Blanchett in it. Maybe that's why I have that association there. But this movie, you can tell that it's going to be pretentious because it's presented in 4:3, and it's not even like regular.
Reserved creative vision.
That's right. It's Zack Snyder. There wasn't a warning on
That's good.
Showtime with this one.
That's when you know the movie's just stupid.
Yeah.
Not pretentious.
No. Well, it was in 4:3, and it was vignetted 4:3. It was like a squared circle type
That's awesome.
thing. Yeah. And the movie follows Casey Affleck. He is in a relationship with Rooney Mara. They live in a very old house, and they are going to be moving out, and Casey Affleck dies. It's not a spoiler. That happens within like the first couple of minutes of the movie. And Casey Affleck wakes up. I think like the scene transition is actually really good because it cuts to like Casey Affleck. He's like at like the medical examiner's thing, and they're having Rooney Mara come in to identify the body. So they put the sheet over, they take the sheet off of Casey Affleck, and then Rooney Mara like says, "Yep, that's him." And then she like waits for like a couple minutes, just like standing over the body. She doesn't do anything, and it's this long shot. We never see her face, just like the back of her body, as she's just kind of like standing there. She's not crying. She's not really emoting at all. And then she just kind of like leaves. And then we hold on that dead body for like a minute and a half. Very long time. And it's very artsy, yes. And then Casey Affleck wakes up. And for the rest of the movie, he is a comical ghost, but it isn't like... I'm trying to describe this as delicately as possible. He's not like a ghost that's like a translucent guy. He doesn't, you see ghosts, he's got like flesh peeling off. It's like a corpse. It's just a guy in a sheet with eye cutouts. And he's just that for the entire movie. For the rest of the movie, Casey Affleck is under a sheet with eye cutouts, like Charlie Brown Halloween. It's a great... Is it a great pumpkin Charlie Brown, or is there a Charlie Brown Halloween?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, well, it's one of those. Or E.T. in E.T. They dress him up as a little ghost. It's like that. But then the movie is basically through Casey Affleck's perspective, and it really okay. This movie is like really good, but I don't know what it was about it where I'm just like, it was not resonating with me. I think it was just, there were long periods of time of just no dialogue, and I think that was exemplified in the infamous pie eating scene, which I'm going to defend because and I've seen reviews of people online being like, nothing happens in this movie, it's so boring, wah, wah, wah. stuff happens in this movie. It definitely has things to say. It's not like it's not like totally avant-garde where it's artsy for no reason. There's a very specific reason why everything is shown the way it is. And right after Casey Affleck comes back home, there's a long scene of him walking home from the hospital. And he gets home, and right away you can tell that his perception of time is a little different. And it starts off slow. We're pretty much seeing real time his perception of how things are proceeding, and it seems like it's pretty accurate to how most people experience time. But the longer he stays a ghost, his perception of time speeds up, and he's just getting like brief snippets of what's going on in this house before he like turns around or shifts his attention, and suddenly something else is happening. Someone else is in this house. It's all you know. I don't know. But when he first gets home, Rooney Mara comes home and she is devastated. I don't know if they're married or if they're boyfriend girlfriend, but whatever it is, it's a long-term relationship that they were in. And she comes home, and I think their real estate agent brought them a pie because they were getting ready to move. And the real estate agent swung by and dropped off a pie and left a note that was like, "I'm so sorry for your loss. P.S. When can I start having people over to this house?" A little dig at real estate agents, which are usually the good guys in every movie. Yeah. But yeah, Rooney Mara walks in. I don't think she cries or anything. She just kind of like comes in, sees the pie, and then she just like grabs a fork out of one of the drawers. And I kid you not, I timed it. It is around 5 to 6 minutes of just one static shot of her eating this pie with a fork. And a lot of people, I think that was the moment that a lot of people dropped out. Like, okay, nothing is going to happen in this movie. I'm literally watching this lady eat a pie. But the scene is so much more than that. It is, it's like the only time we see her kind of break down, or it's the moment we start seeing her express her emotion, because she's gorging herself. She eats pretty much the entire pie in one sitting. She's just sitting on the floor eating this pie, and the scene ends with her getting up and like running to the bathroom to throw up because she ate way too much. And then after that scene, then you see her kind of break down on the bed and kind of fully experience everything that just happened. And then the next thing you know, she moved out, and she left this little piece of paper, this very small piece of paper, in the walls. There's a little crack in the walls, and she left a little note in this little crack in the walls, and then she painted over it, and then she left. And so Casey Affleck, throughout this entire movie, he's like trying to scratch at this wall, trying to see what this note is. And hilarity ensues, I suppose. I think the themes of this movie, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to gauge because the end of this movie is so confusing. In a good way, maybe I should give this movie a higher rating, but I really was not really enjoying myself while I was watching this movie. Yeah, so like basically the entire crux of the movie is that humanity, and yeah, I guess just human civilization is in a loop where, we start off as hunter-gatherers, and then we develop civilization, and that advances to a point where we are destroying our planet until eventually we destroy ourselves, except for a few stragglers. And those people are resorted to going back to hunter and gatherer type cultures. But then those people develop civilization, and then those people kill each other and then leave a few stragglers. And that is life through that is I guess how everything works in this movie. Everything is just a constant loop. And so Casey Affleck experiences one of these loops. And so he sees the world end, he sees it begin, and he watches life begin, and he watches civilization begin until literally himself moves into the house that he was a resident of. And it's kind of trippy because he's haunting himself, technically. But the movie ends where he eventually gets the note out of the wall, and he reads it. We never get to see what it says, and then it's almost like his body in the sheet disappears, because then just the sheet falls down. Once he reads the note, the sheet falls down, I guess, symbolizing he has found peace and he can move on. And that's a ghost story. It's the whole thing. It's kind of hard to talk about this movie without just explaining everything that happens, because I don't even know what is there even to say. It's it's a really heady concept, and it's kind of comical that this ghost is just a guy in a sheet, and he has very minimal interactions with the world. There's a scene halfway through when another family moves into the house, and there's a moment where he gets upset. My guess is that because Rooney Mara is no longer in the house, and he starts throwing plates and stuff and breaking stuff, all poltergeist style. And then they eventually move out, and he pretty much chills out. But yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like I would recommend it to a certain type of person. This is not a movie that people who watch Blumhouse horror movies are going to like. I feel like that might be the people who hated this movie online. Were going in expecting something completely different. I mean, you see a ghost story. I mean, the poster it is just a gray background with the guy in a sheet with the eye cutouts, and it just says a ghost story in Times New Roman or something. So I mean, it does kind of give that this is going to be an artsy movie type flair, but yeah, I don't know. It wasn't for me. I think I explained the whole movie in 10 minutes, and the movie is, granted, it's only an hour and a half long, but there's no dialogue. It's just watching him watch other people and watching time advance and fold in on itself a little bit. It's kind of trippy. So yeah, I don't know. Someone likes it. A lot of people like it. It's very highly rated on Letterboxd. I might be the person who's given it the lowest rating ever, at 3 stars. That's not true, but yeah, I don't know. It's pretty good. But that is my discussion review of Ghost Stories and A Ghost Story. 2 movies I didn't really like, but they were funny to review at the same time because their titles were pretty much the same. So that's it for me. I'm gonna pass the mic on over to James to talk about King Gizzard.
Oh, thank God, finally.
Yeah. Never shuts off. Yes. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard has released their lead single to their new album, Petro Draconic Apocalypse or Dawn of Eternal Night and Annihilation of Planet Earth in the beginning of something. I don't know, it's too long.
Wow.
Oh, they need to work on condensing. Yeah, but the new single came out today, I think.
Yeah,
So good podcast timing for once.
for once.
Gila Monster is the name of it. It is exactly what I expected last week. It's power metal. It's like it's bordering on like cheesy '80s thrash metal, which kind of has a charm and a quirk to it. I don't know. I'm still figuring out my feelings around it because I just listened to a song from Rat's Nest and I'm like, ooh, this is disgusting. I love it. I want this to be more gross. It's not. It's more glamorized and like I don't know. It's given Iron Maiden vibes, which is cool. But my preference with metal is always grimy, disgusting, sludgy, heavy stuff. But this one's fun. It's got a lot of guitar solos. It's got some pounding riffs. I think Ambrose is on the vocals doing his metal voice that he did on the last metal album. So I enjoy it. I don't know how much I enjoy it yet, though. I think I'm gonna have to listen to the whole album because it's like it's got its charms. I also wish it was heavier and kind of more. I don't know, more sludgy. I think the whole record. I think we have the track listing now. I think it's 7 songs. Yeah, 7 songs, 48 minutes. So they are longer ones, which is nice. So definitely still looking forward to it. I think the vinyl has a bonus track. I think that's kind of coming back. There's been a lot of albums recently that have bonus tracks on only physical editions. So I'm guessing just because the vinyl industry is booming right now that labels are deciding to do that.
Yeah.
But still excited for this thing. Right, our album of the year has June 16th as the release date. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. I haven't seen that anywhere.
I thought that they did tweet that.
They might have. I might have just not seen it. But I mean, I like that they just kind of like come out and they're like, here's a new album. It's out in a month.
Yeah.
I hate waiting for things that are announced like a year and a half ago. But might do a reaction to this one. Not sure. It is definitely more metal focused. So I think it's a very accessible metal, though. It's not something where it's like gonna turn people off to it.
Yeah.
It's still got the King Gizzard charm. But that was pretty decent. Claro released a Live at Electric Lady EP, which is the exact same thing that Denzel Curry did last week. So Electric Lady must be doing a whole bunch of collaborations with different artists. So we'll see if another one pops up next week. But the Claro one definitely stood out to me more than the Denzel one did. I think Denzel's good live, but Claro with a live studio performance is pretty much unbeatable. It's kind of funny that it came out as soon as we did the reaction to Immunity.
Yeah, that's good timing.
Yeah, but all the songs are gorgeous on that one. I think they are all from Sling. Is Bags on? Bags is on Immunity. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what album that was on, but I do like the Bags on this one more than the studio version on the album. So
I can see that. I need to listen to that. I didn't know it came out.
yeah, I didn't. It showed up on my Spotify new page. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
okay. I'm like, oh, this just came out. I guess I could talk about that.
interesting. Okay.
But yes, so that one's out. Check that out. Very, very, very good. Yeah. What else we got? We have Keitra Mine coming out this Friday. Probably won't do a reaction to that one because we're going to be listening to it. So I won't be able to wait for that one. That's the summer album right there. I think they had a new single come out today, but I'm not listening to it. I'm just waiting for Friday. That's something I can wait for. Sometimes I'm like, hey, let me just listen to it. But yeah, so that's coming out Friday. Janelle Monáe released the release date for their new album.
Yeah.
It's on 6/9. Funny.
That's very funny.
I think there was a new single out for it. It was pretty decent. I forgot the name of it. I have not listened to much of their stuff. I've wanted to because I feel like Arc Android and Dirty Computer are like super highly rated in music circles. So I might put that on my wheel.
I didn't know that they still made music.
Yeah, this is a last 2018 was their last one. So definitely a big break. But I don't know. From what I heard, I didn't. There wasn't anything too special to the single. But it also could be a new direction because I too many people praise those other albums for them to be not that good. So I'm just not too familiar yet. But might check that one out when it comes out. I think the Jonas Brothers released an incredibly bad album last week, so that's cool.
What? I saw it at Target. It can't be that bad.
That's awesome. That's like the best place to find it is just at a Target.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know that they did an album.
You just have like the mountains of Taylor Swift vinyls and then just the little Jonas Brothers vinyl next to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Post Malone just announced a new album today.
A little, yeah, that is true.
And a tour, I think.
Yes.
It's titled Austin.
Self-titled.
Self-titled. Or he's talking about Austin, Texas.
hard
Or
to
he's
say.
talking about both.
Whoa,
Double entendre.
that's crazy.
I don't even know if I'm going to listen to this. I don't know. I'm kind of burnt out on Post Malone. I get my hopes up every time thinking that this is going to be the one, and then it just never is. I
Yeah.
feel like my interest in him has passed, but he could prove me wrong.
I'll listen to it.
I could
I'll
be
let you know.
convinced. Yeah.
I
I
don't.
could be convinced.
This is one where I saw it and I'm like, okay, his last record like just came out. Didn't it come out last year?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. I don't know. Hollywood's Bleeding came out a year after Beer Bongs. I don't know. The
But a
album.
lot happened.
Yeah. The album cover for this one is interesting because I don't know. It's just like a picture of him in jeans in the pool. So like, it doesn't seem like we're gonna. I don't know.
I'd like an acoustic record.
That's
That'd be-
kind of the vibe
that
I'm
at least
getting from
interests me.
this.
Yeah.
But
Although, didn't he have a single?
he did, and I'm pretty sure it's a pop song.
Okay, cool.
I have not listened to it,
Yeah, I
but
haven't either.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't know if this is like a part of the album because he also did that NASCAR song, and then that wasn't
yeah.
on what 12 Carat Toothache. So I don't know if it's connected at all, but yeah, I'll listen to it, and if it's any good, I'll let you know. But
Awesome.
got a
Yeah,
couple.
I feel like I've reached the point with him where it's kind of like my interest is kind of gone, but surprised me.
Yeah,
It's kind of the Logic effect that I had a couple of years ago.
sometimes
Like,
he has a
this
couple
person
songs.
has just turned so mid, but sometimes there's little glimmers of hope.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna get my hopes up, so
Yeah,
we'll see
no,
how
I
that
wouldn't.
goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I think the only other thing this week was Daft Punk released their Random Access Memories 10th Anniversary Edition. I don't think there's anything too new here. I think it's just a whole bunch of demos and studio outtakes and that kind of thing. So might be good. I'm not going to listen to the 2-hour thing to confirm. I also kind of want to wait until we do a reaction since it's not too fresh in my mind. It's been a long time since I've listened to this album. But yeah, that was the thing. I think that's it when it comes to music,
Okay.
which is, still a decent amount, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
I'm only listening to Billy Wood still, so I have no idea.
Okay.
Even when I don't listen to music much, those kind of albums, they just stick. Although these Nuclear ones are hidden, so I might add that to my playlist too.
Yeah, I'm still listening to Caroline Polachek.
Oh, yes, that too.
It's very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we will have De La Soul out next week on the channel. Excited for that one too. We're getting a lot of summer albums, which is nice.
Very good
It's getting
timing.
warm outside.
I saw that Chase said that we need to do Neutral Milk Hotel for the summer too. So
Okay.
if that
Chase
comes
never
out-
lets us down, so
That's true. That's true.
I have full confidence in him.
He knows my taste.
He does.
which
He
is
does know it to a T. It's surprising.
yeah, it is. I'm like, oh, Chase says I'm gonna like Caroline Polachek, but that was a semi yikes. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Should have trusted Chase.
Real.
Yeah.
Okay. We could move on to my other segment.
Oh,
I added some prompts in Chat GBT and it spit out a whole bunch of names.
uh-oh.
Some of these are kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
Um, uh, one of my favorite ones is the Boy Time Manifesto Exploring Socialism. I thought that was really funny. I'm like, I'm doing a podcast about socialism, but have the words boy time in it. And it's like, here you go.
The Boy Time Manifesto.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, that's kind of fire and stupid at the same
But this
time.
isn't a manifesto.
No, it's not. Yeah, there's a whole bunch in here. I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling yet. None of these sound cool. I'll just do a different name for it every single week. How about that?
Perfect.
Nice.
So what is this one going to be, the Boy Time Manifesto?
Yeah, this one will be the Boy Time Manifesto Exploring Socialism.
Okay, perfect.
Next time will be Red Boy Time, a socialist podcast.
Red Boy Time. That doesn't have
I
a
also
good
like
ring.
this one where it says the Radical Round Table, 3 boys talk socialism.
Oh, I kind of like
That
that.
one's kind of funny. Or Leftward Bound, the socialist podcast is kind of cool.
I like Leftward Bound.
Leftward Bound.
Ugh.
But yeah, that's what I'm rolling with for this week. We'll change it every week. I feel
Okay.
like that's fun. That's
Perfect.
funny.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll just introduce it every time. Like you do your names at the beginning of the podcast.
yeah.
But this week, I'm not going to do the segment I talked about last week because the segments I'm wanting to do going forward, or at least like the ones that are top of mind, take a lot of research and writing, and I did not have the time this weekend. We were very busy. So this week, I'm going to do recommendations and kind of things I've been reading / listening to, because I felt like that'd be just kind of a cool overview, and I can give a little bit of insight into all of them. Because that's what I do for most of my day. Audiobooks and podcasts. I work a desk job, which allows me to have access to headphones for most of the day.
Well, there
So
you go.
this is how I spend my corporate cubicle hours, which is admirable, I think. Yeah, you got to educate yourself. Where you're I make money doing this on the boss's dime. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But I'll just kind of give a rundown of some of the podcasts I enjoy, and then some of the books I've been reading, just as a highlight and some recommendations. Because I know I talked about a lot about reading lists and stuff in the last 2 episodes, so this will be a
Yeah.
cool kind of rundown. I do want to start with my boys at the Deprogram podcast. This is maybe one of the biggest influences in my development in the past like year or so. Basically a podcast with 3 YouTubers. One's from the Balkans, one's Iraqi, and one's from Texas. So you get a full worldview constantly.
Yes.
It's a very good mix of stupid, funny commentary stuff mixed with like kind of high level theory. Very, very engaging, I would say. Some of these podcasts get overly like serious and lectury, so they can get kind of boring and you kind of tune out. But this is definitely the opposite of that. It's D's nuts jokes 1 minute, and then just like very well thought out explanations of a complicated topic the next minute.
I like
It's
that.
a really interesting dynamic, and I feel like the biggest takeaway from this podcast is it gives you an introduction into a wide array of topics that you can build more on. It gives an internationalist perspective, which I think is the biggest influence that I've had in the past year, because I would say like a year ago, I was obviously still a socialist, but you need to you don't realize how deep that runs until you get an internationalist perspective and how much you're missing. That opens up a whole new can of worms and really kind of changes your view on things. So this was a very easy way to kind of dive into that. They had a really good episode this week of like how a post-capitalist society would change all aspects of things, and gave some really good examples with like media, video games, even down to things like how trading cards could be evolved because they are so commodified to the point where it's like this piece of cardboard can be worth $2,000 compared to this other piece of cardboard that's worth $2, and you both need them to play the
Relatable.
game. Yeah,
I was into Pokemon cards when I was young, and I probably have like a couple thousand of them just at my dad's
exactly.
house.
I got some on a shelf over here right now. I still spend money on Pokemon cards, and it's stupid, but I
I
like it. It's
I know I
addicting.
got some valuable ones though.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
Charizard or anything, but
Charizard.
Charizard.
Sell it to Logan Paul.
Ooh, he'll wear it on his neck for WrestleMania or whatever he did with that thing. But branching off of that, Second Thought, who is part of this podcast and kind of organized it, is a fantastic YouTube channel for one-on-one stuff. Really useful for American viewpoints and people that are not very well read in the topics. He does a very good job of explaining things simply without using any of the jargon, I would say, which can hold a lot of people up. So he is absolutely fantastic. It's very difficult as I'm learning through doing this to explain topics using normal people language and not stupid academic language. So very good podcast. Very entertaining. It's definitely one that I like keep up with like every single week. Um, so check that one out. That one's good. Next is Blowback. I've talked about Blowback on the podcast before. Another very influential podcast for me in the past year. They kind of do a very, very intricate and good telling of like the first season is the Iraq War,
Yes.
second season is Cuban Revolution, and the third is the Korean War. I think this is a must listen for anybody interested in these kind of things. They do a very good job of keeping it entertaining. I think the Iraq one, they have John H. Benjamin playing Saddam Hussein, which
Yes, it's
is
very good.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yes, I've listened to season one, and it's
Yes.
phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. Very easy to follow, but also very in depth. I like the first season, but the second and third season I think are the best ones they've done by far. Just the sound design, it's heavy, but they do try to keep it light a little bit. The Korean War one is just incredibly eye opening. I might do a whole episode on the Korean War, but that's probably all going to tie into my Radio Free segment, which I might have to split up into several weeks because I have a lot to say about that stuff. But Blowback's fantastic. They do have a new season coming out soon. Sometime this summer, they're doing a 9/11 season.
Uh-oh.
So I am very interested in that.
Okay.
They did kind of touch on that a little bit in the Iraq season just because the timelines are pretty close.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am excited to see how they tackle that because I feel like I've heard the story of it a million times, but I'm sure they'll dig up some more juicy, kind of intricate details that kind of get left out of a lot of other analysis of it. So, very excited for that. But check out that one. Very easy to get into. It's not overly here's our stance. It's just a very good history retelling from a different point of view.
Yeah. Well, it's two journalists,
fantastic.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. One formerly on Chapo Trap House and kind of went away from the more funny, silly socialist podcast and really wanted to hone in on good historical retelling. So both of those guys are great. So check that one out. Next, I want to shout out Revolutionary Left Radio. This one is all over the place. Kind of to a fault because it's hard to find things in it. But basically, it is a kind of network of podcasts from someone based out of Omaha. He kind of tackles a wide variety of things. It's not just socialist things. He does a lot of anarchist theory, a lot of Marxist theory. Talks about like Buddhism and religion and psychology, current events. It's all over the place, which it's very interesting. I don't. Some episodes I don't get a lot from because you'll have like academics on, and some of these academics are obviously not podcast ready, and it gets kind of rambly. But there are other episodes where he brings in like current organizers that have very different points of view as someone like on the ground currently organizing, which can be very helpful. But great podcast. It is all over the place. It's hard to kind of get a foothold on what episode to start with. You kind of just have to find one that sounds somewhat interesting. They are quite long too, so it is a pretty good podcast if you're just doing a mundane task and you need something to kind of fill your airwaves for a little bit.
Yeah.
But pretty decent. Definitely more theory heavy, more intricate, advanced stuff. So definitely not something to check out if you're, you know, haven't read a lot or are not like super involved.
Well, I'll avoid it.
Good. Anarchist theory. Read. Um,
Anarchists don't read.
exactly. That's not true. Some, well, they should. Um, Building off of that, they also have a sister podcast called Red Menace, which is very helpful, more than Red Left, I would say. Red Left, I would say. It takes a whole bunch of historical texts and kind of builds upon them, gives further analysis. This is very useful for me after reading Lenin specifically, to kind of they kind of hone in on the themes and expand upon it, and kind of get rid of that kind of fancy language that can be used sometimes in those, or clear up some kind of misconceptions about the text sometimes that comes up, just because these things are old, and if you don't have like a lot of experience reading older texts, you can kind of misconstrue some things on accident, which definitely happens. These things are not always easy to read, unfortunately, but very good, incredibly theory heavy, but Brett from Rebel Left and Allison do a fantastic job of kind of breaking these things down. These are definitely ones that I have to listen to multiple times because they spit so much at you so fast that it's like, whoa, slow down, please. But very good. And the last podcast to shout out that I've been listening to recently, just to kind of prepare for the coming segments, is Radio Free Amanda. She does kind of analysis and history from a more Asia-centric lens. She does a lot of work through like Chinese current events and Chinese history, which is great because I've been looking for a non-Western source on that for a long time, and it's incredibly difficult to find. So that stuff's been really good. Unfortunately, most of it is behind a paywall. I have not found or I have not subscribed to the Patreon to kind of give further episodes to listen, but the episodes I have listened to that are free have been pretty insightful. And it's like halfway like, okay, this gives me a good basic understanding, and halfway like, oh my god, I am in the deep end when it comes to like wanting to write about this for my podcast segment because it is so complicated. But that show's pretty great as well. So that's the podcast. And then I just do a quick read through the list of the books I have read or I am currently reading, just to give you an idea of where I'm at and what I kind of recommend from there. I'm kind of insane if you can't tell. This is just how I occupy my time. Obviously, the Communist Manifesto. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's, read it, I guess. This is the only kind of Marxist literature that you will be introduced to in college if you take a history major or some other major that's somewhat related to it.
Yes, I had to read it twice.
Twice? Why not?
Twice.
I haven't even read it twice because it's kind of boring.
Well, I didn't read it the second time.
Oh, okay.
I was assigned to read it twice.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of boring. It is a manifesto, so it's kind of supposed to be boring. It's just a very general overview, but it's not going to change your life if you read this thing, most likely. The things that you will read following this book is what you'll really get a lot out of. Speaking of that, Capital Volume 1, the hardest book I've ever read to date, and probably will be the hardest book I will ever read. It's so long, it's massive, but it is a masterful kind of it just explains how capital functions, down to the very, very, very minute to the broad. It is incredible, despite Marx's kind of scatterbrained approach to the way he writes. It can be a little confusing or overbearing, and like someone should have edited this down better. But if you kind of dig through that, the meat of this thing is really fantastic. It is priceless. like the most thorough written work of how capitalism actually functions. Um, it is definitely worth the read. It's hard to recommend. It is it is a text that is like very, very potent still, but God, is it a journey. It is so hard to get through. The first six chapters are probably the hardest reading I've ever done. After that, it gets easier and it's more fun because it is applied to actual things. But it starts like at the very minute, like with math equations even, and just like oh, there's a lot in there, but it is amazing. Um, One podcast that did help me kind of go through that was Reading Capital with Comrades. That's put together through I forgot who the person is, but their organization kind of does this where they supply texts and do courses on breaking it down, which definitely needs to be a thing more often because this thing is way too complicated for the average person to read, including me, because I got lost so many times. Um, but they do a really good job of breaking it down chapter by chapter, and then they have discussion topics, and they'll bring up things that could be confusing and kind of explain them better. So fantastic there. Yeah, not a fun read, but important. Speaking of not fun reads, I also bought the curriculum of the basic principles of Marxism Leninism Part 1. This is interesting because it is actually a Vietnamese college textbook that was translated by a YouTuber, Luna Oi. So I bought this for like 20 bucks, shipped it from Vietnam in like a week. Um, but basically, she's got a team of people that are translating all of the texts that they do in college in Vietnam, which is really cool. It's very kind of surreal to be reading about this kind of stuff and learning in a textbook format because I never thought I'd see that since this is so frowned upon in Western education, at least the US. You don't really get textbooks that break down these things. Um, so it is very interesting, but they do a very good job at translating, and there's a lot of like, there's annotations that spread across multiple pages, um, which can get annoying, but it's also very insightful. Um, but the whole book's basically a breakdown of dialectical materialism, which is basically the philosophical kind of worldview building part of Marxism Leninism. It's very complicated. I'm not going to get into it now, just because it is such a broad thing. But they do an excellent job of kind of explaining the concept, and then they apply it to Vietnam during the periods that it applies to, which is very helpful. I feel like a lot of the books that you read about this stuff, they don't apply it enough. It's more the older texts where it's like you're supposed to know all these things happening. Um, but very insightful. I'm learning about the history of Vietnam while going through this as well. So very cool. I like having the physical versions of these books too because I feel like my ADHD brain just shuts off if I have to read from a computer for more than 20 minutes without doing anything else. I
Yeah.
need the Subway surfers in the corner and the the foam beads in the corner or whatever else they got on TikTok. Um, my brain just functions that way. In terms of Lenin, State and Revolution is incredibly important. Um, this is what kind of solidified me as a Marxist Leninist instead of like, more anarchist routes or more reformist versions like Social Democrats. This book is just kind of a kind of dissection of all of those left ideologies, and it's masterful. It's so good. He's funny. He's witty. He dunks on the people that need to be dunked on. Yeah, a very entertaining read. Surprisingly, I'm like, there's so much character from this man and such a very principled and kind of in-depth text, but it's still kind of light. Digs a lot into the Paris Commune and kind of learnings from that as well. So if you do read the State and Revolution, you probably need to have a background of the Paris Commune, which is unfortunate because you need to do reading of other things before you read this thing, which is kind of annoying. But there are podcasts and resources that kind of help with that. But incredibly influential, still very relevant today. Incredibly relevant U.S. left. I feel like my main thing when I see discourse on Twitter or anywhere online in leftist spaces, all it boils down to in my head is please read Lenin. These things are important, and they're not just like These aren't just things where it's like, oh, I like this man personally, so read it. Like, no, these things historically have made sense, and you can trace back exactly events past this book that have happened. Then you can trace back to this and be like, yep, called it, called it, called it. These theories are things that have worked historically. Um, Building off that, imperialism, high stage of capitalism, probably my favorite Lenin text. This is the most potent for today and is kind of the inspiration for this whole segment, which I'll be getting into in the coming weeks. It's just incredibly complex to kind of relate all these things back to each other. But we will be talking about big media conglomerates soon, whenever I have the time to actually write these segments. But this book is maybe the most potent on this list, most relevant to today. Again, masterful. It's kind of takes they do provide examples of companies that they're talking about in the text. They are a little dated, so they talk about German banks and the Rockefellers, but anybody with a American history standpoint will be able to latch on pretty easily and kind of connect the dots on a lot of these things. And it's only 10 chapters; it's pretty short, but amazing, amazing, amazing. It blew my mind the first time I read it. I want to read it again, and it'll probably blow my mind again because I don't take in all this information in the first read because it's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
But absolutely incredible. Maybe the best book on this list, in my opinion. Next one is one I picked up. I haven't started reading yet, but it's Palo Alto by, I think it's Malcolm Harris. I found this in a bookstore, surprisingly. Um, but it's kind of a Marxist view of the history of California and Silicon Valley, which was very interesting to me because Silicon Valley is a thing that I definitely want to like know everything about because I hate it. Um,
Yes.
so uh, it's a very long book too, so I might talk about it in a year when I finish it, but just to call it out. And then the last one is Black Shirts and Reds by Michael Parenti. Parenti is maybe the best, absolute best resource for anybody on the left. He's an incredible, incredible writer, speaker. I recommend everybody watch the Yellow speech. Just type in Yellow Parenti on YouTube, you'll find the speech. That little things, because a lot of these are theory heavy and you have to focus on learning. Parenti definitely captures the emotional side of these things. Every time I watch a speech of his or read parts of this book, it gets me fired up. I get angry. He's very emotive. He's got a very good way of telling very complex things in a simple way, and things that make sense. Just an amazing speaker. Black Shirts and Reds is kind of about the birth of fascism and kind of the dissecting it from inside. Um, I've I'm listening to an audiobook of this one actually, but I've listened to like the first 3 chapters and it's already like incredible. Um, it's so good and just like its breakdown of the history of it, why certain things happened, calls out all of the companies that actively funded fascism, and it's it's incredible. Um, it does make me actually angry, which I guess it's supposed to do. It's supposed to provoke and educate at the same time, so it does a wonderful job at that. But absolutely recommend that one again. Parenti in general, I feel like everybody should listen to a Parenti speech or two because that'll get you fired up. That'll get you wanting to dig deeper. um, that's kind of like the meme. I think there was a TikTok floating around for a while where it was just segments of the Yellow Parenti speech, and then they had Subway Surfers and ASMR and other things in the corners. Like, this is how we radicalize the youth through TikTok. Um,
Perfect.
but I love Parenti so much. Just an Italian American man with a big mouth, and he knows what he's talking about. Um, I love it. But that's all I got right now. I do want to dive into Parenti a lot more in the coming year, just because I definitely like his style. Um, I think he has a book, Manufacturing Consent, which is very, very on topic still, and I do want to read that and dig further. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of that topic, but I do want to read more about it, and I will be doing a segment on manufacturing consent because it is happening actively around us every single day. Um, but that's what I got. Just a whole bunch of recommendations and books to throw at you, and just a little bit about them. So, hopefully, if you're interested in any of these, you check them out, you give them a listen, give them a read. Read the ones that or listen to the ones that are reads. Who knows? I personally like to mix up between audiobooks and actual reading. There's something therapeutic about just sitting down with a book and reading. So, something I haven't felt since probably like early high school. I never thought I'd actually read books again at my own time. But but I mean, when you got a passion for it, it's what you have to do because I do think reading is very important with these things specifically, especially after once you start reading these things and then you go online in these supposed like left circles. It's like there's so much just garbage spouted from everywhere. It's like I feel like people aren't actually reading these things and they're just kind of like wanting to bully people on the internet and argue over these stupid, useless things. So, but a lot of these podcasts are very, very genuine and they don't get into that silly drama stuff and they just kind of give the content and they would strive to educate as many people as they can. So, love it. Yeah, I think that's all I got this week. But
Nice.
big old list for you.
Nice.
There you go.
Read Gramsci if you're an anarchist, please.
I won't.
I don't think I will.
Understandable.
I don't read.
I don't read.
I read 1984, and that's all I need to read.
There you go. Perfect. It's very Orwellian
yes.
of you.
Yes, very fiction book of you.
Oh, yeah, and a book about Babylonian myths and traditions and stuff, but that's
There you
not
go.
the point.
I read the. I forgot what I read in high school.
The Crucible.
Oh yeah, the Crucible.
A
I remember I
Fable.
did a presentation in 9th grade on 9/11 conspiracy theories.
Ooh.
I remember
That's
that
fun.
vividly because that was before the jet fuel melts steel beams meme was around, and I like unironically said that during a class presentation.
Oh. That's
Not like I
fun.
meant it, but I'm like, this is a
This is
conspiracy
a conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wish I still had that presentation somewhere. I wanted to find that. I feel like that'd be really funny to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I did a better job of backing up the high school stuff because they just deleted all of our accounts.
Yeah,
Very sad.
it is very sad. We had hours of content on our school emails,
We really did.
days even.
Days even. Yeah, well, it's all right. Some of it is on my personal channel. Sure, funny face. So you can see some of it. I don't know if I would recommend it, but
No, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can.
theoretically
If you
they are
really
out
are
there.
curious.
Yeah.
One of us will get famous, and then that'll come back to haunt us one day when someone finds it.
They aren't problematic.
No, they're not. They're just not good.
They're just not good. Yeah. I was gonna say I'm like it's not like we were edgelords.
No,
Yeah, it's fine. They just
I didn't think
aren't.
we made a gay lover romance about chicken nuggets.
Hey,
twice.
you know,
So
that's progressive.
it is very progressive.
I showed that to my girlfriend. I showed her both of those, and
she
she's like,
cried?
"No, she didn't cry. She was just like, why did two straight guys in high school? Why did two straight male teenagers make a movie about a gay rom-com esque thing?" And I'm like, I don't know. We were just progressive, I guess.
Boys being boys.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Maybe there's something deep down that they don't know yet, but will come out one day. Dun dun.
5 years from now, we're both gonna come out as gay, non-binary people.
Chicken nugget.
An alphabet person. We're gonna come out as an alphabet person.
Good.
I wish that term wasn't derogatory
Yeah, I know.
because there's too many letters.
They'll reclaim it. They'll reclaim it. Just give it 5 years.
I wish it was now because I don't like that we keep adding letters. It makes it not accessible to people. We need a more succinct name.
Alphabet.
An alphabet people is perfect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people have been
It's
using
got like a
it.
cynical tone to it overall, though. It's like hard to
Yeah, that's true.
hard to reclaim that one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's possible. It just probably
He'll
isn't
win
going to
some
happen
games.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, queer was like
Yeah, exactly.
a slur. So
They make quick work of turning these things around, so they'll make it happen.
yeah,
Just gotta wait a little bit.
yeah. So
That's the moral of this episode.
if you take anything out of this episode, it's not.
Is that don't read, just wait, take your time, everything will work itself out.
That's right.
The invisible hand of the market will continue
Exactly.
to make things right. Elon Musk is carrying us forward, folks.
That's right. That's right. I saw that he said, what was it? One of the mass shootings was a psyop. So
Oh yeah, he's been kind of going crazy. He's
he-
been like responding to like Nazi graphs of like black on black crime that are
Oh.
like obviously false, and he's like interesting or concerning.
This is concerning.
Yeah,
It's like literally all he says to, which is like,
It's like concerning.
interesting.
Yeah, so
That
he's been
makes
going on some like crazy graph tirades of just like fake stats that have been disproven.
Well, his dad benefited off of apartheid, so
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I'm not saying that this is new. He's just kind of like more out in the open, kind of being an idiot.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which is cool. I mean, the more people realize he's just a dunce, like I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the weird thing is that it's
Mm-hmm.
like, Bezos, Zuckerberg, they're all weirdos, but they aren't posting like weirdo conspiracy things
Yeah,
on their
'cause they're
social
smart.
media. Yeah, they know what they're doing.
The best billionaire is one that doesn't open their mouth
Exactly.
because you don't even know they exist.
That's why everyone loves Warren Buffett.
That man just like doesn't care anymore.
Well, I mean, what is he like? He's
It's
got to
like
be his late.
96,
Yeah, I was gonna say
like
he's-
94,
he's-
96.
He's
Yeah,
old.
he's old.
92.
Oh my
Born in
God.
1930.
Is he or Henry Kissinger gonna die first? How is Henry Kissinger still alive? He's like
He's
113.
99.
Yeah. Someone
Wow.
kill that man, please.
I mean,
For record, that was a joke, FBI.
I'm not sure if I don't think anyone needs to finish the job. He's 99.
No, I just like, at this point he's probably begging for it. He's like, man, I've done everything. I can't do anything anymore. Like at 99, nobody's gonna be doing anything.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna tap out like early 60s.
Yeah, I'd be
Just-
cool at 60s.
Yeah, just before it gets sad.
Yeah.
I hope that sometime in the next 40-ish years, the attitudes towards physician assisted suicide they they advance a little bit because I don't want to scar anyone. I
Yeah,
don't want to
exactly.
jump off a bridge and have like a 14-year-old find my body and then
No,
have
yeah,
that
we need like
forever
a
affect them.
pod.
Yeah, we need a suicide pod like in
Yes.
Futurama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a thing, don't worry.
They're already a thing in like Switzerland.
No, yeah, they already are.
Awesome. We just need
Capitalism
to import
innovates.
That. Yeah,
They make you a way to off yourself for a cost. It's really cool.
Meanwhile, I gotta
out of
live
debt.
until 101 at least, because then
Yeah,
I
exactly.
live in the 1900s, 2000s, and 2100s.
That's true. That's a good point.
Oh, frick.
Yeah, I gotta continue on when you guys have passed. Like it or not.
We'll be continuing the pod through all of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember when I was in like late middle school, I had like a reminder on my phone for like 100 years after my birthday, and it was just die. And I would see that whenever I opened up my phone. And I'm like, man,
a
I'm
good
not
idea.
going to live 100. Why would I do that?
None of us will live to 100. That's right.
It's too long.
Climate wars will have taken us all.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll be fighting over fresh water.
It's true. It's true.
What do you mean? We got a giant ocean.
It's a good
Just
point.
drink
That's true.
ocean.
Just drink ocean.
Just drink ocean.
You got to use one of those life
Get a little
straws.
straw.
Yeah,
yeah.
the big old straw, filtering straws.
Mm-hmm.
That works.
I remember seeing a map. I mean, God no, I probably saw it on Reddit somewhere, so who knows how reliable it is. But I think the Midwest is actually like one of the safest places with climate change,
Yeah.
or it's like around the Great Lakes, because you know you got
Well, we're not
like 5
sinking.
Great Lakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not
that
sinking
too.
in the ocean. We did.
Florida
Well,
out of here.
tornadoes will get crazy. I mean, we
Yeah.
already get kind of crazy thunderstorms. You can already see the weather patterns getting kind of crazy. It's
Oh
like
yeah, we get those
there was a
funny
couple weeks here,
derechos.
like a month ago, where it was like 80 one day and 40 the next day, and it just kept fluctuating.
Mm.
So
I can live with that though, compared to
yeah,
being
it's better than
underwater.
falling
So
into the
yeah,
ocean. Yeah,
or like mega hurricanes. Although
hmm
I'm sure at some point they'll be strong enough they at least like give us a little tap before they die,
just
which
takes a
they
little
kind
bit
of already do actually.
sacrifice.
Hmm.
Thinking
I'm waiting for
Very
the
concerning.
very
concerning.
concerning. Anyways, pay $8 for Twitter Blue.
Yes, I already have.
That's the moral of the story.
That's the moral of the story.
I'm
You
gonna
get
buy it for the
anything from
Boy
this
Time
segment.
Twitter now.
Yes,
Let's go. Elon Musk needs money. He's very poor.
That's
he's a little
true.
poor.
He needs help.
He's stepping down from
Elon
CEO
Musk
in a
needs
couple
your
weeks. He
help.
needs all the money he can get.
Bye.